Hi everyone, my name is Chaitni and I am a mindset and nutrition coach. I help clients cope with stress, depression, or anxiety through healthy habit formation, lifestyle changes, and proper nutrition. Every week I drop a wellness related video, so if that interests you or intrigues you, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I also blog every other week with self-care and self-love reminders. So if you're more of a reader, make sure to sign up for the blog. The link is in the description. And lastly, you can follow me on Instagram at Imperfect Bodies by C Modi. So this week's video focuses on something that we all do occasionally or chronically, and that is overthinking. So overthinking in general is something that all of us humans do. Sometimes there are events that trigger it, or sometimes there are interactions that trigger it. But when this becomes a chronic issue, that's when you really need to start paying attention to it. So in this video, what I'm going to do is just give you a brief explanation of what overthinking is and share some ways that you can manage it. You can't completely eradicate it unless that's something that works for you. But in general, for most people, overthinking will happen occasionally. But what I'm going to share with you with the suggestions, at least it will help you start to manage it, to be aware of it, and to cope with it in a healthy way so that it doesn't take over your life. So what exactly is overthinking? It's basically a thought pattern where you're constantly thinking about something specific. It could be something from your past, it could be something in the future, and a lot of times it leads to kind of a paralysis where you're not able to do anything, you're not able to take any action. It leaves you feeling really fatigued, it leaves you indecisive, it could lead to stress, it could lead to anxiety. Some examples might be some conflict that you've dealt with and you constantly think about that, or a mistake that may have happened on your part in the past, or you have, some upcoming major changes coming up, or a potentially a confrontational meeting that might be happening with your boss, and you constantly ruminate about that or you think about that. So it's this negative thought pattern. Like I said, everybody goes through this occasionally, but when it becomes chronic and you're doing it on a consistent basis, it's very unhealthy for your mental health, but it can also lead to unhealthy coping habits. You might turn to avenues that are not necessarily the best for you to help you numb and to stop this overthinking. So what I'm going to do is share a few different ways that can help you start to be aware that you are overthinking and to help you manage it in a healthy way. So the number one thing is start to identify the pattern. What I mean by that is start to figure out typically what do your thoughts consist of when you're overthinking. And the second part to this is what is leading to that overthinking. So are you typically really concerned about, whether you've upset somebody, or are you second guessing a decision that you made, or are you dwelling on a mistake that was made in the past, or are you concerned about, something that's going to happen in the future? The more you analyze this, you will realize that there is kind of a consistent thought pattern. There is a theme to the overthinking that's happening. It could be conflict, it could be self-esteem issues, it could be people-pleasing, a lot of different things. So identify that pattern, because until you know what that pattern is and until you know the cause of these thoughts, it's very hard to eradicate them or to manage them. So it's really important to start to identify and really, what's causing it. Is it some kind of difficult conversation that you're about to have? Or is it something that you're watching or experiencing, or certain people that are triggering these overthinking thoughts? So it's important to understand what's causing it, as well as the pattern of the thoughts. So that's suggestion number one. Suggestion number two is change the narrative. What that means is be careful of the story you tell yourself. Whatever you tell yourself, you will eventually believe, even if it's fiction. So it's very important to manage that story. Try to steer clear of words such as always, never, all the time. So just to give you an example, instead of saying things like I'm always a screw up, or I always mess this up, or I can never get that right, change that narrative and turn it to I'm human, I'm allowed to make mistakes, or this is really hard, but I'm learning and I'm doing my best. Because you can see what a difference the two phrases make. When you tell yourself you're always a screw up versus saying I'm human, I'm allowed to make mistakes, that can actually lead to momentum. It can lead to progress. It can lead to moving past whatever thought you're experiencing or moving past whatever has happened. But when you stay in that negative frame of mind, you remain stuck. So that's why it's very important that you catch your thoughts and catch the words that you're using when you talk to yourself, and start changing that narrative, because you will believe what you tell yourself, even if it's not the truth. And then number 3 is, take action. What that means is action leads to elimination. So a lot of times with overthinking, you will feel paralyzed, you will feel stuck, and you will stay in this loop where you just keep on thinking the same thing over and over again without it leading to any kind of solution. So when you get like that, just get moving. It could be doing a quick workout, it could be going for a walk, it could be picking up the phone and calling a friend. Just change that scenario in the current moment and just move, or take some kind of action. If it's in the middle of the night, because a lot of times when you're stressed out or when you're dealing with some big life changes, overthinking can happen in the middle of the night. So I get that, that's understandable. And I know at that point I don't expect you to go to a walk or to call a friend. That's okay. Grab a book to read. Keep a book on your nightstand or one close by, and grab that. If you're up and you can't stop thinking, just divert your mind and read a book. Or if you're not really a reader and don't want to do that, you can get out of bed, just change your location and maybe do a few quick breathing exercises, because that will calm you down too. Or you can listen to some really soothing music. But these are all actions that you have to take. So again, being aware of when you're overthinking, start to take some kind of action, healthy action, that can just kind of put a stop to those thoughts and not take you down the rabbit hole. And then number 4 is remind yourself that you're doing the best that you can. When you relinquish control, you really give back the power to your present. You stop existing in your past and you stop existing in your future. So it's very important to remind yourself that you're doing the absolute best you can. You're doing everything that you possibly can, but not all of it is in your control. So very important to just let go of that control. And the minute you want to control, the minute you want to be in charge of every minute detail, which is not possible, but sometimes that happens, especially when you get into overthinking mode, just tell yourself that you're doing the best you can, and this is what your best looks and feels like. So basically, give yourself a break, cut yourself some slack, keep on doing what you're doing, and try to limit that overthinking. And last but not least, number 5 is focus on solutions. So a lot of times with overthinking, we're thinking about what went wrong or what could go wrong. Instead of that, start asking yourself how you can make sure that it doesn't go wrong, or how can you learn from your past mistakes. So as an example, if you're dwelling on the past and there's something that didn't go as planned, and instead of thinking, why couldn't I get it right, or why couldn't so-and-so have done this differently, why couldn't this have turned out differently? Instead of that, you ask yourself, what is to be learned from this? How can you avoid this in the future? What are some solutions, or what are some practices that you can put in place so that this doesn't happen again? Or how else can you manage your reactions if a similar incident happens? Because not everything has a solution, but the one solution that's always consistent is how you manage your emotions and how you manage your reactions to what's happening around you. So that's where you can focus. That's what you could spend time on. Or if you have an upcoming deadline, I know you have a big project or a difficult meeting that's coming up, or, just a big event that you're preparing for. Instead of worrying about how will everything get done, will it be a success, will I be able to get everything done on time, you ask yourself, what all do I need to do to make sure I'm fully prepared for whatever is coming up? How can I delegate? Whom can I call for help? How can I lean on somebody else? How can I manage my time better? Those are the questions you need to ask yourself, because those are solution oriented and not focused on how everything is going to go wrong, and how everything has gone wrong. So it's very important to focus on solutions and really not as much on the negative side of it, because that again will give you that break. It'll put a stop to that overthinking. So just to wrap it up, overthinking is not something that just doesn't happen. It happens to the best of us. But like I said, when it becomes a part of your life and when it's chronic and it's happening all too often, that's when you really need to focus on how to manage it and how to recognize it. That's a key step as well, because unless you recognize it, you can't really put an end to it or minimize it. So it's important to keep that in mind, that overthinking does happen. It's okay. But what matters is how frequently it's happening, what kind of impact does it have on you, and how quickly can you snap out of it. The quicker the better, obviously, then that's when you're doing a pretty good job of it. But if it's having a very negative impact on you, if it's happening all too often, and if it's just pretty much taking over your life, and you notice that that's pretty much how you cope with everything that goes on in your life, then I really hope you at least consider testing out one of the suggestions that I share with you, if not all. Start with small steps, baby steps, and see how that works for you. As always, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you here next week. Until then, please take really good care of yourself.